Welcome to the new and improved ConfigureITDone Podcast. The ConfigureITDone Podcast is now a place where we interview senior thought leaders in the SAP space across Australia and New Zealand, and the aim is to tap into their knowledge so we can pass on their insights to the listening SAP community.
This podcast is in partnership with the Black Dog Institute, who aim to create a mentally healthier world for everyone. If you wish to donate to the cause, please click the link below.
Sure, there's a lot of people out there that already know what Tara, what you do, but I'd love to get a bit of an understanding and get some context and share your career, Tara, and what you do at SAP.
Sure. Well, I've been in IT for about 20 years. I started as a Java programmer, actually. Started as a developer, and then worked for a utilities company for about 10 years, and then moved into SAP. That's sort of how my SAP career started. They used SAP, started developing a first Java WebDim Pro application, and then rewrote it in ABAP later.
And has this always been in Australia, Tara, yeah?
Yes. So I went to university in the US for 4 years, actually. So I did my entire degree in the US.
Oh, wow.
Went over on a tennis scholarship was the reason why I was over there. So I do play a bit of tennis and did, information systems and technologies as my degree over there. It's interesting. It was not what I was intending to do. I was going into business tourism was what I always wanted to do. And that's what I got into uni here for, deferred in case I didn't like it over there. And then because you don't need to decide your major straight away, I started getting into programming and IT and was like, I love this. This is absolutely what I wanted to do. So
you kind of fell into that, yeah?
Yeah. Just started taking some classes and was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Stuff tourism. Like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a developer. So.
And what did you love about that? Like, obviously, you know, I know you kind of took some classes and you kind of loved it, but what was it that drew you to it? I guess having a problem to solve and creating something and then getting an outcome out of it that, yes, this solves that problem. This does it. It was, that was probably, the main point. So I spent, 4 years overseas and then came back. And I started with Fujitsu, did some consulting and programming there. Mm-hmm. And then spent 10 years sort of working in very different roles, led the SAP development team at one point, sort of gone through a lot of upgrades and projects to do with, SAP delivery, so a lot on the delivery side, and then ended up as a chief architect there. So was responsible for the whole landscape of SAP and non-SAP systems. So looking at that, and then was time to move on. So then I joined SAP and then have been consulting with SAP for the last 8 years. And I'm an enterprise architect with the business transformation services team at SAP.
I was just going to say, obviously, thanks for you, obviously, as enterprise architect in the BTS team. And it would be good if you could go through sort of in your role, what you sort of offer to customers within your position as an enterprise architect at SAP.
Sure. So I spent a lot of time with customers trying to understand their business, trying to understand what they're doing now and what they're trying to achieve. So really trying to then marry that up with, well, what does that mean from a people, process, technology viewpoint, and developing target state architecture. So here's where you want to get to, and then roadmaps on how do you get there. And I guess it's very important to look at not just the technology aspect, but the other aspects as well. So, does your business model need to change? What sort of processes will change? What impact does it have on the people using the system? Are they, is there interim states where they might have to complete an end-to-end process in 2 different systems? Is that going to work for them? And just, if I'm lucky enough, help with the customer's
go through that roadmap, go through that delivery process and ensuring, that they're getting the value out of what they tried to achieve. And it's not just implementing new software or new products all the time. It's also getting the most out of what they have, sort of where it's re-engineering processes or doing things better out of existing solutions that they already have.
Sure. Okay. And yeah, thanks for sharing it. I think we met before, Tara, and we were speaking about, what topics we're going to cover on the podcast. And what I loved, and we haven't really had this on the podcast before, and I think a lot of the listeners are going to take a lot out of this, but we were saying that we're going to look at this from a not only a business lens, but a personal lens as well. But can you, obviously with your role as enterprise architect, and you've obviously just shared what you do there, but can you share some of the expectations your customers have on you as an SAP consultant?
Yeah. We know everything about everything to do with SAP. I guess that's the basic. We are expected to be knowledgeable and know exactly what's going on with our SAP products, the roadmaps, what's happening, and also understand what else is going on in the account with other SAP consultants and salespeople, and understand, almost be across every conversation that's happening to do with SAP, and be, knowledgeable at everything that's happened within that customer, which is tough. There's lots of things
to do
on.
That.
Yeah. and whether that's a false expectation, because I guess people who understand SAP know that it's so huge and know that you can't be across everything. So it's more about understanding what you do know and your limitations, and work out how to gather the right people together to answer the questions, get your results. What do you need? How can we help? And go from that point of view.
Yeah. I love that when you walk into the Apple store and you go up to one of the specialists there and you ask them a question, and if they don't know, they praise it. Oh, great question. And they go and find, as a team, they go and find another specialist, and they keep going until and you could have like a group of 6 or 7 of you all learning together. Is it like that kind of approach, like within SAP?
It is, and I guess that's the advantage that we have is, we can get to the product development team. Like, if there is something that we can't answer or don't know, there is that support of the whole team behind you to get back to finding that answer. Definitely a team effort, because people have, there's specialists in different lines of business as well as industries. And so, it's that combination of pulling all of that together. And I guess that's one of the roles I do as an enterprise architect is facilitating that and pulling all the different consultants together in the different lines of business, but then making sure that end-to-end processes across the different lines of business, across, the streams, that we're getting the right answers and the right solutions in that space.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a good point you made there. And like Jay mentioned, obviously when we had a chat before this, Tara, one of the things which really excited me about this conversation is one point you mentioned was obviously that you're a single mum, and in such a demanding role as an enterprise architect, obviously would have its challenges, right? But I think for a lot of our listeners to this podcast, this conversation is going to resonate with them for sure. And what I'd be keen to sort of understand from your side is, can you go through some of the challenges that you face and the knock-on effect that has on your day-to-day job and SAP career ultimately?
Yeah. I guess one of my when I returned from maternity leave, I took a year off, and one of my biggest fears was I didn't want to go to the customer straight away. I spoke to my manager and was like, I've had a year off, so much has changed. I need, it almost was like I needed to give myself a month to just be immersed with all the changes that have gone on, understand what's happened with the technology, I need to understand this now. I can't
put myself with a customer if I can't answer their questions, if I don't know what's going on. And, so it was, the first thing was, doubting myself like that. I've had this time off. How am I going to catch up? Am I ever going to catch up? And I actually came to the realization sort of a month in, was like, no, I need to get myself back out there and work with customers, because that actually helped from my mental health state of actually interacting with adults and humans, and my daughter's not a human, but interacting with adults and not just trying to you're forever chasing your tail, I guess, if you're trying to be the latest on every single topic. In my head, I was like, okay, I'll start working with customers and look at what do I need to focus on, and that gives me my focus areas to make sure I'm up to date with those things that they need. Not trying to, boil the whole ocean at once, but sort of work that out. And then
so it's almost a bit of like almost like imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like you've got the knowledge, you've got all the experience, but just that kind of coming back from maternity leave, it's, you start to doubt that kind of and the confidence piece. Yeah. But
I mean, you take a look at everyone's learning about everything anyway, because everything's changing. So even, someone who has been working that entire time, they're not going to know about the latest SAP product because it comes out at the same time for everyone. So it took me a while to just look at it in that way, going, hang on, just because you've been working that entire time doesn't mean you know all the new stuff because it's released at the same time, or, and I mean, we do have a bit of before public release, understanding the product, but you're not as far back as you think you are.
Yeah.
Tara, how did you, this is brilliant. Like, how did you come to that realization? I know you said it took a period of time, but how did you muster up that confidence, how did you come to that realization that, hang on a minute, do you know what? I actually just need to put myself in the firing line. I need to get to the customer. I need to, how did you do that?
It was just going, I could be in this, it's just, I guess, reflecting and going, I could be in this forever. If I'm never going to put myself out there, I could just be learning about things, and it constantly changes anyway. So it was kind of like, what am I doing? Like, get back out there, start focusing on the things that are important to that particular customer. And I've got the backing, I've got the people behind me. If there's something that I don't know, it was putting that pressure on myself, I guess, to go, I can still be a good mum and I can be a good SAP consultant as well. That. So, and, with parenting, there's books on it, but there's no book on it, So it's like, well, if I can work that out, I can work this out. I've been doing this a lot longer than I've been a parent. Let's, get back out there. And, the first winter of childcare, my daughter being in childcare, was hell. She got sick a lot. It almost seemed like every 2 weeks, I'd pick her up on a Friday and she'd have another sickness. And that was hard, dealing with managing the work expectations and delivering, and also caring for my daughter, because there was no one else. It's me. And so working out how to manage that and not let people down.
Sure. Now, this is, I mean, obviously the company you work for, their mantra, SAP's mantra, is obviously putting the customer first. And given that you're a single parent, like, how did you manage that expectation day to day?
Tough. And I'd say there's times I didn't manage it well. There's times I guess I hit a low point when I was putting SAP and my work first, and it meant I was suffering personally and my daughter was missing out. And if anything COVID has taught us is, it's important. Family is important. Like, your life is important. Things can change in an instant. So it was trying to, and I guess, give people the benefit of the doubt. I guess I didn't if things were happening, I was, I guess, trying to manage it in my own way and try and hide it. So if there was a deliverable needed to happen at a certain date and my daughter was sick, instead of asking for an extension or explaining the situation, I would basically kill myself trying to deliver to that timelines. Like I would be working nonstop, or whenever she would sleep for a little bit, and it's not sustainable. And I guess that's why I hit a really low point, because you can't just keep giving, because it's, if you're saying yes to that, what are you saying no to? And it's, those sacrifices that you're making, are they worth it? And I did work with Joe Wagstaff on leadership skills, and it was a lot of personal development that I worked with, and I sort of almost had to hit that low point to be able to realize that, hang on, I need to make some changes here. I need to turn around, and started, I guess putting in a buffer for going, okay, yes, I can deliver this in this date, allowing for that everything's not going to go perfect, that there will be something that comes up that I'll need to take care of. And I found people were more understanding if I spoke to them, about managing that expectation. And I didn't give people enough credit. Like, people have either been through the situation, been a parent themselves, or understand. And in the end, people have human nature. Like you build up relationships with people, and they are a lot more understanding, than I initially gave people credit for. So that's my bad. But it is good that people are more understanding, and if you communicate with them and sort of explain, the situation, maybe, a lot of the customers we're working for, we aren't saving lives. So things can wait, and I guess it's about being bold enough to have those conversations. And I considered it being a failure that I couldn't deliver, that it was my fault that I was doing something wrong that I couldn't deliver. But in reality, a lot of these things are out of my control, and you need to, people will work through, people like to help other people, and we're trying to achieve the same goal. So, it's working through that, and with the customer, and working on, well, what can we achieve? And because I still think I add value, that what I'm delivering is good. You just might have to wait a little bit because of, someone else, a little tiny human needs me for, a little bit. So,
So Tara, there was so many little gems and little pockets of gold and little tips in there. I love the point where you said, you give yourself a buffer, and also actually just having that conversation and being bold and just breaking the ice with someone and building that relationship and just having the conversation. If you could give because there'd be a lot of listeners in the same position as yourself, if they're a single mum or not, because sometimes a lot of people, they won't have that confidence to have a conversation with the customer, and they put work above anything. So if you could summarize with your top 3 or 4 tips for those listeners that are experiencing that, that same discomfort as you had, what would your top 3 or 4 tips be for them?
Definitely setting up boundaries. So know what you are willing to sacrifice, I guess, and what you're willing to do versus what you're not willing to do. I'm not willing. I will say no to meetings between 5 and 8 because I need to pick up my daughter from childcare. I need to bath her. I need to have her dinner and put her to bed. And, instead of trying to juggle that and go, oh, yeah, I'll take this meeting and I'll kind of be feeding her while I'm that's not going to work. So it's setting that boundary and going, no, it's okay. That time is my time. That's the only time I get to see her during the day, on work days. So, let's set up that boundary and those understandings. Also, some of the things I've
looked at was making sure I take a break, during the day, allow myself some time, because the only time I don't have my daughter is when I'm working, right. So it's full on there. Where's my time to wind down, even just get your head in the right space. So it's making some time for you. I can take a half-hour break and make sure, a couple half-hour breaks work better for me than taking an hour, and just doing something, whether it's taking time for a coffee. I work from home too a lot, so I do a lot of remote work. So it's making sure I have some time for me to get my head right, collect my thoughts, and make sure that I'm ready. And definitely setting that buffer in for estimates and not hiding the amount of work that things done. I think I did that a lot. Well, I know I did that a lot, where I'll be like, yeah, I can get that to you, and say yes to too many things, and going, okay, oh, if I need to get that means I have to work all night this night and then all night. So sort of making sure I don't work all night every night of the week. Allow 2 nights, for example, to go, okay, I'll work later on these nights. The other nights I won't. And allowing for, yes, I'll do that, but allowing in my head a little bit of extra time in case my daughter gets sick or whatever. There's been times where you can do all the best preparation, and then 10 minutes before you're about to go into a customer call and you've got your presentation ready to go and your daughter's sick at childcare, and you're like, oh, what? I have to go. I have to go pick her up. You've got half an hour to pick them up. It's lucky we've got a team, and sometimes people can cover for you. Here's the presentation. Sorry to throw you in this, but you're going to have to run with it. In the ideal case, but if you don't have that, and it's on your own, it's just having that conversation and going, really sorry, this has happened. I have to go. And, people are understanding, they'll go, okay, we'll reschedule. So, yeah.
Excellent. That's brilliant. Thank you for providing those 3 or 4 tips. I think a lot of listeners are going to take a lot out of this, Tara. And one thing I wanted to ask you, obviously you've been in the SAP game for 20 years now, and the ConfigureITDone podcast we do, we always interview senior leaders and exec leaders like yourself. But is there anybody in your career that's similar experience that you may have learned from that we could potentially invite on the podcast to interview?
Oh,
put you on the spot here.
Yeah, I know. I might have to get back to you on that. Yeah,
I know I put you on the spot.
You did put me on the spot there. There's not one person that comes to mind, because I've picked up a lot of things from a lot of different people.
That's all right, no problem. Here's another question. Because we're coming towards the end of the podcast, and like I said, there'd be a lot of people listening in a similar situation. But what message would you like to leave with those people that are in a similar position to you? What message would you like to end on and leave with them?
I guess I'd say be brave, and you're not alone. You work with a lot of people and you don't understand what's going on in their personal lives or what they're dealing with. And, everyone shows up to work, and if you talk to people and, work through expectations, manage their expectations, and be clear on your boundaries. So set your boundaries for yourself and communicate those with others. You find a way of working that best works for you and your family and your situation and the customer as well.
Excellent. Tara, that was fantastic. Chay, thank you for inviting Tara on today. Like I said, Tara, I even learned a lot from that, especially those those 3 or 4 tips that you gave. So yeah, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Hopefully it helps people out there, that, yeah.
Sure.
I'll definitely be following up.
You work it out. Yeah.
I'll definitely be following up for the recommendation to come on the podcast.
Okay, will do.
Excellent.
All
Brilliant.
right.
Please like, share, comment and subscribe to the Configure It Done podcast.